I just want to start off with a very broad question. What is the state of AI in GI? Like just taking stock of everything that you know, if you have to just summarize, what do you like about it? What don't you like? Or anything else in between?
This goes back to what we talked about in the fall. AI, artificial intelligence, right now in GI seems to be mostly surrounding computer aided detection of polyps. That's where we're seeing the most literature. That's where we're seeing the most media buzz. And I think that's warranted. It is quite the technological advancement over the past 5 years. I think 5 years was the first time I used a CAD-E implementation or enhancement compared to what we have now available, and it's drastically changed, drastically. And I think it will be the standard of care going forward. When it will become standard of care across the country is to be seen. Praveen will talk about the paper you co-authored that was released just last week or the week before in the Red Journal. And even the paper, one of the consensus statements was that CAD-E is here to stay. We still need literature to really understand the long-term benefits. Will it change the interval colorectal cancer risk? Will it be meaningful in terms of human life and obviously cost analysis? But the short-term data, which is basically identifying more adenomas, more precancerous polyps, is irrefutable. So I believe a lot of what AI and GI is right now is CAD-E. I think the value of what I want to learn from you, Praveen, and you, Matt, is what will artificial intelligence really be for GI in the next 3 years? Because I think this is a 3 year horizon. This is not a 10-year horizon or a 15-year horizon. This is a 3 year horizon. And you can see it, we were talking right offline, Matt, you mentioned the foundation models and the echo and the sleep study you were talking about. There are other fields that are probably doing more artificial intelligence, at least in an experimental fashion, than typically what we're seeing in mainstream GI.
Yeah, I mean, I totally echo that, and it's the first thing that came to mind was just green bounding box, and I'm actually just kind of chuckling to myself because I'm looking at the Zoom screen, and whichever one of us talks, we get the green bounding box around our picture, and I definitely agree with that sentiment. I would say, if anything, AI and GI today feels a little bit stuck to me. CAD-E for polyp detection is really amazing technology, and I commend the GI community for getting out to, I think, a pretty staggering early lead when it comes to actually running randomized controlled trials around AI in medicine. I don't know if it still is true, but I remember a paper, I think from Eric Topol and Pranav Rajprkar, showing that there are more RCTs in gastroenterology than any other medical specialty, or specifically around AI. I think that's a huge positive for healthcare overall. But now it's a question of where do we go from here? And I was at the ASGE's AI Summit, I think it was back in September, and it felt like there were so many comments around, like, why can't we do more than just polyp detection? And I think a lot of it comes down to, the technology side of it has been challenging in the past, although I think that's getting easier. The regulatory questions, that's always challenging. The business model questions, the adoption, all of those are really good questions. But then when you look at the pace of innovation outside of GI in healthcare, and then even more so outside of healthcare overall, things are just moving at a totally different pace to what we see in the GI world. And so now is really the time to figure out how do we get unstuck as a specialty, as an industry. And I think there are some things that are coming online now that can really make that.
Idea is not to beat ourselves up or beat GI up as an industry or the societies or anything, but I think this is an opportunity to be open, because if we can't be open and speak clearly about what we think, then who will and when will we? And that would be a disservice to people listening, watching, and the industry at large. My own take is the following. I go back to the time when motor cars came and displaced horses and carriages and all of that. So at that time, I think Ford said it, right? Like, so if you were to go to the consumer and ask them, what do you want? Like, so they'll say a better buggy. They're never going to say, okay, let's remove the buggy and then build a motor car. They're never going to be able to say that. And yet, that's what happened. And I remember researching with AI what had happened to all the buggies, what happened to that entire industry, what happened to the horses in Manhattan, because the whole place was full of horse shit, smell, and all of that, right? Like, so it just disappeared in 2 years or 5 years at best. Like, so 90% of the industry disappeared. The way I keep thinking about it is the polyp detection stuff is fantastic. But what if we don't do as many endoscopies for the reasons that we are doing endoscopy? So you're going to teach the AI a skill, a part of a skill that potentially a robot is going to do that will already have AI with it. And it's just a few years from now. So is that going to matter? And there is this whole very wide canvas to AI. And we're just picking on one aspect of computer vision, and then we're thinking that that is AI and GI. And we're missing the entire point.